Every earthquake has one magnitude, but can generate many different shaking intensities. So these two concepts aren't exactly the same, but they're related, so it can get confusing. Let's break it down. The magnitude of an earthquake is a measure of how much energy was released during that earthquake, and we describe it using the moment magnitude scale, which is related to the Richter scale. It's kind of like the evolution of the Richter scale. Now, when an earthquake happens, it generates lots of different shaking in lots of different places, and this is called the intensity. The intensity is described using the modified Mercalli intensity scale. You can imagine that in any region after an earthquake, some places will have shaken really hard and other places may not have shaken at all. So that's differences in the intensity level. So what controls the shaking that you feel? There's three main things. The first is the magnitude. See, they're related. Larger magnitude earthquakes will generate higher intensities of ground shaking. The second thing is how far away you are from the earthquake. And this doesn't just mean like driving distance, how far away you are. It's also like how deep inside the earth did the earthquake happen. So earthquakes that are deep inside the earth are actually pretty far away from people and our buildings and structures. But if they're closer to the surface, then they're closer to where we are. And so they can be more destructive and cause more ground shaking. The third thing is the local rock and soil conditions. So soft sands and soils, like what you find in valleys or along rivers, will shake harder and for a longer period of time than hard bedrock. There are also different maps that show the shaking intensity in different places. The first is called a shake map, and shake maps are made using recordings from the seismic instruments. So the seismic instruments measure how hard the ground shakes in different places, and then it assigns intensities across the region to show the distribution of ground shaking. The second kind of map is called a did you feel it map. These are super cool because they are generated by people. People report feeling the earthquake. They fill out a questionnaire that describes what they felt, what they experienced, or what they didn't experience. And then their location gets assigned an intensity. That's really important because we don't have seismometers everywhere. And so when we have a lot of people reporting their experiences, this gives us more data and information about how the ground behaved in different places. So here's some different examples of a shake map compared to a did you feel it map. So this is a shake map from the magnitude 5.8 Mineral, Virginia earthquake that happened in August of 2011. And then here's the same earthquake, but the did you feel it map. So this one is generated by the instruments, and this one is generated by people. Here's another set of maps showing the same thing. This one is showing an earthquake from 2019. It was a magnitude 4.5 in the Bay Area, and you can see the shake map that was generated from the instruments and compare that to the did you feel it map that was generated by people filling out the questionnaire. So what do the different colors on these maps mean? So when you see lots of blues and kind of purples, those cooler colors, that's light, weak, or mild shaking. When you get into the warmer colors like reds and oranges and yellows, that's moderate, severe, or even violent shaking. So if you look at this shake map from the Ridgecrest earthquake, that was a magnitude 7.1 out in the desert in California in 2019. And it generated really strong, intense ground shaking near the epicenter. And you can see that in the valleys, the areas that are in between the mountain ranges, it's actually yellow. So that's that soft sand and soil shaking harder than the bedrock that makes up the mountains nearby. Now, the map that's behind me right here is the cumulative map of all of the Did You Feel It maps that have been compiled in the US. So all of those little dots, all of those different colors, those are all places where people reported feeling earthquake shaking. So you can see just about everywhere in the United States can feel shaking from earthquakes. Do you know what to do if you feel shaking? Drop down to the ground, take cover underneath a sturdy object like a table, and hold on until all the shaking has stopped. Once you're safe, make sure you go and fill out a Did You Feel It report so that you can be added to the Did You Feel It database. Thanks. Don't be scared. Be prepared.